Coming up, how one school is preparing for the next flood.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Strong storms are possible in parts of our region through the early morning hours. Meteorologist Evan Hatter joins us now with our first look at the forecast. Evan.
Well, that's right, Steve. We continue to see the possibility for strong to severe storms as we head through the night. Now, we're tracking some off to our north, but not too many at this point. Let's go to the map. You see the areas under the highest threat for showers and storms in our northern communities. Places like Moorhead up to West Liberty and Louisa, even back down to places like Irvin and into portions of places like Somerset, Mount Vernon. Here's where we are now. We have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for just 2 counties in our region, Lawrence County in Kentucky, Wayne County in West Virginia. Everybody else is not under a watch, but for those 2 counties, it runs until 2 a.m. This is where the bulk of the stormy action is now. In fact, let's get you an up-to-date track on that as this moves to the south and east about 40 miles an hour. These storms still have the capability of producing winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour. Let's get you the latest track on that. Places like Moorhead by about 11:38, Hurricane, West Virginia by about a little after midnight, in Louisa in about an hour and 15 minutes or so as well. So we got a little bit before these move in, but these aren't the only storms we're looking at. Well back into southern Indiana, likely a flooding threat there in southern Indiana as we look at particularly heavy rainfall there in parts of the southern Hoosier state. It's mild, it's muggy out there, low to mid 70s currently out there. In your forecast first through the evening, we'll continue to see those storms on the increase with lows down into the 60s. I'll break down when more storms are possible in a few minutes.
All right, Evan, thank you. Minor flash flooding during the weekend brought up some bad memories and anxiety for people who lived through the historic flooding nearly 1 year ago. WYMT's RJ Johnson has more on what officials at Hindman Settlement School are doing to ensure they do not have to go through that again.
The water in Troublesome Creek has gone back down following flash flooding from heavy rain on Saturday. While the water left behind puddles of mud, it was nothing like the flood of July 2022. During that flood, the Hindman Settlement School sustained damage in 6 of its buildings. Executive Director Will Anderson says they are creating new ways to make sure if a flood were to happen again, they will not have as much damage.
When we replace our HVAC systems, we're mounting them up on platforms so that if the same flood were to occur that just happened last year, those units would not get wet.
That is not all. Anderson says they will change up the way they are doing their flooring.
We're not putting carpet and vinyl flooring down. We're having bare concrete with maybe an enamel finish, and even the wallboard below 4 feet, we're using a PVC wallboard and solid foam insulation behind it.
So if they ever were to flood again, they can easily remove the walls and flooring, clean them, and reinstall.
What that's triggered in response is that all of the work that we're doing is done with the mindset that they will be flooded again.
While officials say they are continuing to push through any and everything Mother Nature throws their way, Anderson says they are continuing to be optimistic.
No matter what comes in the future, we'll be prepared, and nothing would make me happier than 50 years, 100 years from now, if a flood like that occurred again, for someone, the executive director then, to say, boy, I sure am glad that way back when they had the foresight to not rebuild in these spaces.
Using the past to prepare for the future. In Hindman, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
In addition to the remodeling, Anderson says they will not be moving the administrative offices back to its original location. Instead, he says they are working to move into a new building on their campus. Perry County school officials say work is beginning to rebuild the Buckhorn School. The estimated cost of the project is $15 million. Officials say the flood damage was extensive and it required months of planning and designing before the physical work could get underway. It's not known how long it will take to rebuild the school. Right now, Buckhorn students attend classes in the old A.B. Combs Elementary building. Riverside Christian School in Breathitt County recently announced they are relocating after the purchase of Breathitt County Schools Marie Roberts Caney Elementary School building. Riverside Christian Principal Meg Asher says they are excited to be out of the floodplain and be in a better position to give back to the community after all that it has done for them.
I am so excited that we are going to be able to just help more. When you have a limited space, there's only so much you can do. And we are going to be able to have more students. We're going to be able to have resource centers to help our entire neighborhood. Hopefully it never floods again, but if it were, we'd be able to send out teams to help our neighbors scoop out their houses.
Riverside Christian School is scheduled to start classes in their new building on August 16th. Police are investigating after human remains were found in Mingo County, West Virginia. Police say they started investigating when neighbors in the Del Barton area came upon what appeared to be remains on Thursday in a wooded area. The remains were confirmed to be human this morning, and it could be weeks before a positive identification is made.
It's always discouraging when you come upon a scene, especially this type, that how ruthless that person had to have been to committed that type of crime and went to that extent.
Anyone with information should call the Williamson Detachment of the State Police. A suspect is dead after police say he shot a West Virginia state trooper in Raleigh County. Around 9:22 this morning, the trooper was shot in the elbow while conducting a traffic stop at the Dollar General in Midway off I-77. The suspect, seen here, Scott O'Brien, was seen running from a wooded area in the Coal City area. Troopers say he did not obey commands to drop his weapon this evening, and lethal force was used to stop him. We're learning more about a deadly crash between a jet ski and a boat Friday on Lake Cumberland. Two brothers from Kenton County, Cole and Chase Fisher, were killed. It's still unclear what caused the collision between the jet ski carrying the brothers and a larger boat. People in the area say it happened in a narrow channel in what used to be a no-wake zone. Rangers say it is important to follow the rules on the lake.
As you're traveling down the lake, you want to maintain at least middle to the right side. You definitely don't want to, we call it cutting the point. You don't want to cut the point on the wrong side of the lake.
The coroner said both teens were wearing life jackets when the crash happened, and it's believed that alcohol was not a factor. Former Harlan Judge Scott Lisenby is returning to private practice, where he started his career and worked for more than a decade. Lisenby began his career working alongside longtime attorney Otis Doan, who recently died. The former judge says Doan taught him a lot through many cases they worked.
What I've come to realize is that just the broad array of cases that Otis dealt with, and being able to deal with all the different cases and the different nuances of cases, because we dealt with everything from, a simple traffic ticket to circuit court criminal cases, felonies, and everything in between.
Lisenby's office is located in the same space where Doan worked. He restarted his private practice today. The speculation continues over who will be Republican Daniel Cameron's running mate, as the early August deadline and Fancy Farm political picnic are both approaching. Speculation has centered around lawmakers, since Cameron has said he wants someone who can get along well with the legislature. House Speaker Pro Tem David Meade of Stanford has been frequently mentioned and appeared with Cameron at a 4th of July parade in Campbellsville. In recent days, there's been more talk of State Senator Robbie Mills of Henderson, who is seen as an effective lawmaker with friends at the Capitol. Mills also represents an area that could be key in the election. The Opioid Abatement Advisory Commission held a hearing today that focused on a naturally occurring substance that could help fight addiction. It's called Ibogaine. It can be used to treat opioid abuse disorder. It's currently illegal in the U.S. and it has psychedelic effects. Dr. Deborah Marsh has spent 30 years studying the drug's anti-addictive qualities, and she says its best quality is preventing relapse and believes it should be available with other therapeutics.
We will be able to prove in effective and well-designed clinical trials that this drug is transformative.
She says trials will be done in an inpatient setting. The drug will be given by tablet and kick in within 45 minutes. Its psychoactive effects would last 4 to 8 hours. With back to school less than a month away for many, parents should start talking to their students about their safety on the way to and from school. While parents may not want to scare their children with talk about kidnappings, It's important to have these conversations with your child so they are paying attention to their surroundings. Law enforcement says that just staying aware can keep your child safe.
They can always pick up the phone and call 911, make us aware about it. It's something we can look into. I would suggest those people drive to, if it's at nighttime, drive to a well-lit area, get around other people. Of course, an abductor wouldn't want to try to perform that act around other people. So I would say get into a well-populated, well-lit area.
Gayhart suggests that parents monitor their child's online gaming platforms as well, because this may be a way for predators to get to know your child. We've recently reported the University of Kentucky is expecting record enrollment once again in the fall, and campus leaders are busy making preparations for the crowd. We're also hearing reports today that Eastern Kentucky University anticipates very strong enrollment. EKU President David McFadden says as of right now, EKU can accommodate new and returning students with campus housing. He says they have instituted a wait list for those who missed the housing deadline. McFadden also says the university reaches out to local hotels for availability in case it comes to that. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, sizzling heat and deadly flooding. The latest on extreme weather across the country.
And we continue to watch the possibility for strong to severe storms tonight and later this week. Very latest breakdown next.
When you travel, they always say